And again, a good morning to you. If you have not, some rain last night finally, at least in our area where we live, and hopefully you did too. And it looks like it wants to do it a little bit off and on today or this week. And so we hope for that. We're needing that. So do you ever use flattery, or has someone used it on you? I would say that most of us at one time or another have used it. Maybe we didn't do it intentionally. Other times there could have been the intentional use of flattery. And when we do that, especially when we have an intentional focus, that can turn out to be dangerous. Because while flattery can be good if it is genuine and real, it can also be used as a manipulating tool for personal gain. And then what it does is it undermines the trust or authenticity of what we are really saying. Some of the dangers of flattery, if we were to break it down into two groups, would be as follows. First of all, for the recipient, flattery could lead to misguided decisions. In other words, when leaders are flattered, their egos inflate, leading them to make poor choices. I'll just let that resonate with you in how you've seen that played out. Another way that it is dangerous for the recipient is it's this false perception of abilities. Recipients of unsincere or insincere compliments may develop into this inflated sense of self. Which then actually leads to reality disconnection. In other words, they're told that they can do something, and so they really think they can when really they can't. And so there's actually a disconnection to reality. Reduced motivation. That's another danger. Reduced motivation. In other words, a person who is not given genuine feedback might become less motivated in whatever task they were doing. If they're being told by someone giving them flattery that they're doing a great job when they're really not, when they really need to be told, hey, you're slacking in these areas, if they're just told that they're always doing a good job, then after a while, they just feel like it's just a natural action, and so they don't have to put any work to it. And so they become less motivated to do something. But if we took the group of those who are the flatterers, there can be danger. For example, it creates an ethical compromise. When you and I engage in flattery, most of the time we're being insincere, or we could be hypocritical. And so when this happens, the recipient will then find out the real truth, and what it does is it leads to them feeling guilty or unhappy about their behavior. All because we were not sincere, again, about who they are or what they could do. And I would say that the number one danger, both for the hearer and the giver, is this personal gain. We want to hear good things so that in community leaders, especially in small communities, many people will compromise their ethical values for personal gain. And so one way this happens is by not saying what one really means. Published around AD 51. He was only there for about 3 weeks, and then he ran out of town. But in that short time, he built some strong relationships, and he wanted to let the people know, first of all, how well they were doing, but he wanted to remind them of how he and his partner, Silas and Timothy, taught them and preached to them. So in chapter 2, verse 1 and following, it says this: "You know, brothers and sisters, that our visit to you was not without results. We had previously suffered and been treated outrageously in Philippi, as you know. But with the help of our God, we dared to tell you his gospel. It's people, but God, who test our hearts." Now here we go. Pay attention to verse 5. "You know, we never used flattery. We were sincere. We were authentic. We told you the gospel, and we laid it out black and white. We didn't sugarcoat it. We didn't water it down. We didn't say things to make you feel good or have a warm fuzzy. We told you what it was about and left you to make the decision. You know, we never used flattery, nor did we put a mask on to cover up greed." In other words, there wasn't this idea that we're in it for money, okay? Because that's not what they were doing. "God is our witness," he said. And here's the point. We can use flattery in trying to gain a lot of things in the schools, in our community, politics. But flattery can also happen not only in the church, but specifically it happens from those of us who stand on the stage every week and present a message. And so the challenge is for all of us, but if we have any preachers that are out there listening in on this today, I would encourage of us, all of us, as hard as it might be, as much peace as we want to keep, that we speak the truth. And I have found through the years that the greatest truth to speak is God's word. If anybody has an argument, they can take it up with God. So I want to encourage all of us in our relationships to be careful how we use flattery. If it's sincere, great. But if we're doing it just to gain popularity or to keep peace or to make someone happy, but it's really insincere and it misguides them, we need to be very careful with that. Thank you again for watching every week. I appreciate your time. I want to remind you to like and share this. Have a wonderful week. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on Plugged In.